Okay. So we are live streaming, and I'm so excited to have you join us on Norah Piehl to talk about the Bay Area Book Festival, which kicks off next weekend. And prior to that, some of the folks that are really familiar with this wonderful event have been attending pre-events, which continue. So maybe you could tell us about that first. And you are the director of literary programs for the Bay Area Book Festival. Do you go back to the beginning? Like, are you one of
No,
those
I
folks?
just started here in late 2021. So last
Mhm.
year's festival was the first one that I worked on.
Okay, okay,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah. So tell us about the pre-shows in
Sure.
quotation
Yeah.
marks.
So this is something that the festival organizers have been talking about doing for a long time. And this year we decided to jump in and try it. So we're calling it a prologue, sort of play on words there. But yeah, it's been a full month of different events, some of which we produced ourselves. So we had a great event with Michelle Zahner, who wrote Crying in H Mart, back on April 1st to kind of kick everything off. And then we had an event with Layla Motley to celebrate the paperback release of her novel Night Crawling a couple weeks ago. And then our partners from all over the Bay Area signed up to do their own programs kind of under this umbrella of the BABF prologue. And so we're promoting those and they're promoting the upcoming festival. And it's just a really nice way for us to showcase some of the folks who are doing really interesting book programs, literary programs throughout the Bay Area throughout the year. But in this case, in conjunction with the sort of lead up to the festival. So that's been really fun.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, yeah. So I want to make sure that folks know how to find the book festival. And so why don't you give us the website and then tell us sort of where the events take place, the majority of them.
Sure. So the website where you can find the schedule for everything, including the remaining prologue events, is baybookfest.org. So yeah, so as you mentioned, the main festival is taking place on May 6th and 7th in downtown Berkeley. This year, one big change for people who are familiar with the festival from past years is that the outdoor fair portion, where we have 150 different exhibitors and a food court and outdoor stages with author programming, that is only happening on Sunday. Which is exciting because it enables us to have a bigger footprint, because we're not sharing space with the farmers market like we ordinarily have to do on Saturdays. So that's an exciting new change. But we do have indoor programs happening for adults and children and teens both weekend days throughout downtown Berkeley. I believe we use something like 16 different stages throughout the weekend. So we really do kind of take over downtown Berkeley with a variety of programs. And one other big change this year that will be immediately noticeable to people who have attended in the past is that every single session, with the exception of 2 evening sessions, is absolutely free to attend this year. So no need to get a wristband, no need to reserve seats. Just show up early, because we do expect big crowds this year. And yeah, it's completely free and just we really want everybody to feel able to enjoy these programs regardless of any sort of economic barriers.
That is amazing. That must mean that besides the partnerships, you must have done some really serious fundraising as an
Yeah, I
organization.
mean, we're also going to be relying on the goodwill of folks who are attending the festival and who can afford to support the festival in a more substantial way to help enable us to keep the festival free for everyone else.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, yeah. I really enjoyed reading the schedule and seeing, these great anniversaries. Like, I didn't know that Parable of the Sower is the 30th anniversary of that wonderful book by Octavia Butler. And we can see, that particular parable unfolding.
Yes,
Presently is
absolutely.
like
Yeah.
amazing. And then really, really pleased to see some of the folks that are going to be moderating some of the discussions. Um, like Ashara Akindeyo, who is going to be moderating discussion with the author of what is it?
Rest is
Rest.
resistance.
Yeah, rest
Yeah.
is, and I was like, that's gonna be so awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. And so anyway, why don't I let you, sort of share some of the programs of African and African diaspora interests that you came prepared to share. And then, hit on some of these other really wonderful programs. I know this the 25th anniversary of the Berkeley Slam. And you have a lot of poetry, and you've got children's events, and there's some kind of scavenger hunt, and yeah, it's just a whole lot going on.
Yeah. Yeah, never a dull moment, that's for sure. I mean, that's the whole idea, is that whenever people show up throughout the weekend, there will be something interesting and fun and provocative happening, regardless of your age. So yeah, I mean, I guess we could start. You referred to the Octavia Butler session. That was one that was actually really fun how it came together. We've worked with Aya De Leon for many years in a variety of capacities. And she had approached us about wanting to do a session this year about climate justice and about climate, authors writing about climate in a different way. And so we just got on the phone and started talking about, well, what could this session look like? And during that conversation, it came out that, oh gosh, well, this is the significant anniversary, 30th anniversary of Parable of the Sower. Why don't we get together 3 Black women writers in different genres? So we have one novelist, one memoirist, and one poet coming together to talk about sort of the legacy of that book and how it continues to affect their own thinking about climate and thinking about their work as Black women writers. And so I think that will be a really remarkable session, and just it was just so great how that sort of came out of that organic conversation. And I think that's going to be a real highlight of the festival this year.
When is that? And who are the writers besides Aya De Leon?
So I'm going to hold on. If you just hold on a second, I knew that I would.
So you could have shared your screen.
Oh yeah. So yeah, so that session takes place on Sunday, May 7th at 2:30 p.m. And so in addition to Aya, the poet is Ashia Ajani.
Mhm.
And then Camille Dungy is coming.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, so she has a new memoir called Soil. So she's actually going to be presenting on 2 different sessions, including this one. And her memoir is, I haven't read it yet, but it looks fascinating. It's all about her relatively recent move to Fort Collins, Colorado, and how she wanted to diversify her garden plot that she was planting with a variety of native plants, and how the sort of local ordinances cracked down on that and had very
Mm.
specific guidelines on what could and could not be planted. And so she uses that as a jumping off point to talk about how important it is to really fight for heterogeneity of all kinds, both environmentally and sociologically and culturally.
Mm-hmm.
So I think
Okay.
that, and so she's in the section about Octavia Butler, and then in a second session about memoirs that focus on the meaning of home and what it
Oh
means to
yeah.
create a home.
Yeah, I saw that. When is that? That session on home and memoir.
That one is, that one takes place that's again on Sunday at
Okay.
11:30 in the morning.
Okay. 11:30. She's gonna be busy on Sunday.
Oh yes, yeah. Yeah, that's the tricky part when you're putting the festival program together, is making sure if you do have people doing multiple sessions that they have time to sign their books afterwards and have a little breather before they go on to do their next thing.
Yeah,
We were
yeah, her
pleased that
book,
she's able to do both.
yeah, her collection of poetry on I think I'm trying to think. It was about poetry of nature and all of the the poets were people of African descent.
Mm,
That got a Bay Area book award
okay.
when that came out, and that was when I met her work.
Oh, nice. Yeah. No, we're really pleased to have her coming back for this event.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I the Trisha Hersey interview that you mentioned, that's one of our headliner events this year for sure.
Okay.
And as you mentioned, Ashara will be interviewing her. That's taking place again on Sunday at 12:30 at the Freight and Salvage, which is our largest indoor venue.
Oh, that should be nice. You know, I think I'm going to make you into a co-host because I think our audience would like to see see uh, the schedule as opposed to, you know, some people are, I mean, I know we look beautiful, but I think
Sure. I mean, I can call up the website. I'm looking at our like internal scheduling thing, which I probably
Oh,
don't want to share.
no, I want you to share the website. Yeah.
Okay, let me get to that just a
Yeah, let me
second.
let's see. Let me give you
Yeah.
permission. Mhm. No. Hmm. All right. So see if you can do it now.
Okay, let's see. Yes. Looks like I can.
All righty. There we go. Love
Okay,
that
you can
Bay
see it
Bridge.
now. Okay,
Yes.
cool. All right. Um, Now the question is whether I can still navigate on here. Yeah, so I can call that session up.
Cool. Yeah. Yeah. Rest as resistant is resistant. I love the title.
Yeah,
Yeah, when I lie down to take a nap, you know, take a moment. I'm like, this is
exactly. It's a good
resistance.
time of day for that too, 2 p.m.
Yes. So are you gonna have recliners there or space?
I don't know that the chairs in that venue recline, but it's a big space, so people can sort of spread out and use the space available to them. Um, she actually has a new, it's published by Chronicle Books. It's called The Rest Deck. And so
Cool.
it's like it's actually pretty substantive. It's a deck of cards that's beautifully packaged, of course, with illustrations.
Mhm.
And on there is a little exercise on each card that really sort of reinforces many of the points of her book as well. So she'll be there
Oh,
signing copies of the deck and also of her book, and then engaging in
yeah.
that conversation.
Oh, that's great. Is Chronicle Books still here? Are they still a Bay Area publisher?
Yes, they are still based in San Francisco.
Excellent, excellent. So do you have a copy of her book you could show us?
Yeah. Do I need to stop sharing my screen to do that,
Um,
or can?
you don't have to.
Okay, all
I'll
right.
just
So
make
yeah,
you
see,
do.
here's the book. I actually don't have a copy of the rest deck here. I've given away all the all the copies that I had, but this
Mm,
is the book. It's
okay.
lovely. And there really is some meat to it as well. It's not just about sort of stepping back and wellness practices. It is particularly she is really talking about her identity as an African American woman, and how that it's especially important for her and for other folks who share her identity to make this an intentional political practice of stepping back, not doing labor for free, knowing when to say no to things, and making that a political statement as well as a personal one.
Mm-hmm. Very nice. Very nice. Yeah.
In terms of other sort of headliner events that I wanted to be sure to bring to people's attention, one is a session that's called Poetry at the End of the World. And
Mm-hmm.
it includes a number of great poets, but especially I wanted to bring to people's attention Saeed Jones, whose latest poetry collection obviously inspired the title of the session. His new collection is called Alive at the End of the World.
Mm.
And so all five of the poets who will be reading and discussing their work during this session are talking about apocalypses of various kinds. So that could be climate, it could be extinction, could be, the atrocities of police violence. So there's a variety of different perspectives at play here. But at the end of the day, what we realized when we were sort of framing the session is that they do all have at least some measure of hope. So this is not just like a session full of despair. It should be a session full of beautiful and very thought-provoking conversations and readings about from a real variety of very different poets, but all sort of speaking to each other through their work.
Mm. Yeah, so that's Sunday, May 7th at 3:30 to 4:30.
Yep.
Can a person leave freight and salvage and go to that? Is there, I don't know, if they wanted to do both?
Yeah, so those two sessions are actually essentially back to back. There's a half hour gap in between. So yeah, you could hop out, get your Rest is Resistance book signed, and head back in for the poetry session if you really wanted to make an afternoon of it.
Okay, cool, super. Yeah.
Yeah, in terms of other folks I wanted to bring to people's attention, I mean, I should definitely mention first thing on Sunday is on our outdoor
Ebony.
stage.
Yeah, that looked really good.
Yeah, is Ebony K. Williams. And she is probably best known for being the first African-American cast member on The Real Housewives in New York City. So she really is a celebrity. But she's also, a practicing lawyer. She does a podcast. That's what she's been doing most recently, a podcast where she sort of dissects celebrity legal cases. And it's sort of straddles that line between entertainment and legal content. So that's what she's probably best known for right now. But her new book is called Bet on Black, and it really is just sort of a joyful affirmation about all the great things about being Black in America today. And she's going to be in conversation with a local podcaster, Ray Ingram, and that should be a really lively and fun and very positive conversation.
Mm-hmm. Nice. Yeah, I noticed that you're having a program on, I don't know the writer's name, but it's a book about enslavement.
Yeah. Is that master slave, husband, wife?
Yes.
Yeah. So that one's here. This is Ilyan Wu, who is independent historian. She's from the East Coast, but she's coming out for this event, and her new book is just getting tons of praise, tons of awards buzz. It's really a truly captivating work of narrative nonfiction, and it's a story of escaping from enslavement that I don't think has been told very much before. It's about a couple who end up going in deep disguise, where the woman in the couple was able to pass as white, and so she disguised herself as a white man with a disability, and her husband disguised himself as his own wife's slave. And they use this deception to make their way north. But then again, they became sort of celebrities because of the success of their escape. But then they had to go on the run yet again once the Fugitive Slave Act came into play. And they were again at risk, particularly because they were so high profile and so well known. And my understanding is, according to the author, that their last name is Kraft. And
that's what I was thinking about, because I have the book, because um, the woman wrote her own story.
Oh, really? Okay, so
Yeah,
okay.
yeah. And the book was lost for so many, like over 100
Oh,
years.
wow.
And then they found it. Yeah.
Oh, that's cool. I didn't know that
Oh,
part of the story. That's neat.
mm,
Um, my understanding is that some of the Crafts descendants
mm-hmm.
live here in the Bay Area. So
Really?
yeah, so I'm hoping the author Ilyan Wu was planning to reach out to them, and hopefully some of them might be in the audience, which would be
Hmm.
really interesting to get
Oh,
their
I'm gonna go
perspective.
get the book. I'll be right back.
Yeah, I'd love to see that.
Go see the other page. Yeah. And maybe you could stop sharing your screen for a
Oh,
minute
sure, yeah.
so I can show you my book.
I love
Um,
that.
yeah, 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 this one.
Oh, cool.
Yeah. And yeah, it's well, this was actually In Search of Hannah Craft's Critical Essays on the Bondwoman's Narrative, Henry Louis Gates Jr. and Hollis Robbins, but I have the Bondwoman's uh narrative as well. And wow, that's really great.
Yeah. So that
Yeah.
should be, and you know, I Dorothy Lazard, the librarian and
Oh
public
yeah, she's
historian from Oakland. So
yeah.
she's going to be interviewing
Oh, I
Ilyan.
love her. She is phenomenal.
Yeah. So she emailed me after she started reading the book, and she said, I can't put it down. It's such a great story. So I think that'll
Mm-hmm.
be a really, really wonderful conversation.
Oh, excellent, excellent. Oh, that's great. Yeah, and then I know you have I don't know what it's called, but I saw Tango Ison Martin's name on the panelists, and it's about I think it's about police violence or something, accountability. Um, is that a panel?
Yeah, so it's a panel on reforming cop culture.
Okay.
And so Tango is going to be on as we wanted to have the perspective of an activist, a local activist.
Hmm.
So he's on that session along with two authors, well, actually three authors, two of whom co-wrote a book on the police scandals in Oakland. So that's called The Riders Come Out at Night: Brutality, Corruption, and Cover Up in Oakland. So we sort of start there with this sort of local angle,
Hmm.
and then go into more of a national perspective. We have Neil Gross coming. He is a sociologist based out of Maine, but he actually grew up in the Bay Area and worked for a short time as a beat cop in Berkeley, and then went on to get his PhD and become a sociologist. And he has written a book about police chiefs across the country. So it's a handful of case studies of police chiefs who are really doing the work to reform their own departments.
Hmm.
So I think that session will really be interesting in the way that it sort of, like I said, starts with a local and then expands out to contextualize it within the national conversation as well.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, yeah. And I also noticed that there's going to be something around the foster care system. There's a book about that, and I'm thinking it was some kind of investigative journalism thing that happened at the Graduate School of Journalism. Some people there investigated something, or they teach there or something. Anyway, it looks interesting.
Yeah. So this is such a tragic story. This is from this started with the case that you might remember from 2018, when
Yes.
these two women drove their SUV off the cliff in Mendocino County, and killing themselves and their foster children. And Roxana Asgharian, who's actually a Houston-based investigative
Mm,
journalist, she most of the foster kids came from Texas. In fact, I think
mm,
maybe all of them did, from two different families of origin. And as she was seeing the story unfold, she thought that other sort of journalistic accounts were really focusing on the stories of the women. And she wanted to find out about the stories of the children. And so she got connected with their families of origin, found out their stories, how they ended up entering the child welfare system, and how that system just failed those children on so many different ways. And of course, extrapolating from that, failing thousands of other children as well. So yeah, she's going to be in conversation about her book, which focuses again on the starts with that real tragedy, but then uses it to talk about sort of larger issues. She'll be in conversation with Garrett Therolf, I think his last name is pronounced. He's at the UC Berkeley School of Journalism, but he had done a lot of investigative reporting on child welfare when he was at the LA Times. And so he can provide that context. And then their conversation will be moderated by David Barstow, also of the J School.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, that looks like it's a really important conversation.
Absolutely.
California doesn't have a good foster care system either. And we definitely need to take care of our children.
Yes.
And when their parents and guardians aren't able to.
Yes.
Yeah, suppose they're exploiting them for the little bit of income or a lot of income, that the people get to take care of them. It's so interesting the way the laws are fixed, that a family that needs money for resource to take care of their children, they can't get them, but a stranger can.
Right.
And then also around, whether or not a family member has ever had an instance with law enforcement or incarceration, and that completely knocks that particular family member who wants the child out of consideration. And I have a friend whose husband had to actually move out of their home so that his grandchild who needed care could move in. I'm like, this is crazy.
Yeah,
Absolute crazy.
Yeah, there needs to be a real accounting for that, and it's a complete overhaul of the system for sure.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. So what else do you have for us? I've been interrupting you.
Oh no, this is good. I mean, there's so much. We've been talking a fair amount about nonfiction. I'd love to talk about fiction as well, but before we leave nonfiction, I wanted to talk a little bit about a session that I'm really excited about, which is we're calling Hidden Histories. And one of the two authors on that session is Jory Lewis, whose book is called Slaves for Peanuts. Yeah. And so she received some Whiting Award funding, as did Il-Yan Wu, for her research on this book. But it really is about sort of the sort of deep history of peanut production and how it affected slavery existing particularly in Africa and in Europe much longer than it might have otherwise. And so it's a story that hasn't really been told before, but it's a different perspective on enslavement, and one that I think people will be really surprised by. And she'll be in conversation with actually a Swiss author who has a novel, but that's deeply informed by research about the sort of travesties of the sugar industry, and about environmental degradation and human rights abuses and all of that stuff in the context of this sort of autofictional novel. So that'll be a really deep and provocative discussion for people who are interested in food, and interested in history, and interested in sort of sociocultural affairs. So I think that will be a really great session as well.
Yeah, when you mention peanuts, I always think about George Washington Carver.
Oh, sure, yeah.
And those many uses of the peanut that he discovered at Tuskegee.
Right.
Where he was one of the professors and a good friend of the founder, Booker T. Washington.
Right. Yeah, I'm sure she gets into that as well. I mean, yeah, it's like like everything else in history. It's more complicated than I think that than we always realize. So yeah, lots of
Mhm,
different facets to that story.
mhm. Yeah, yeah.
Um, yeah, I wanted to just touch on a couple of fiction sessions.
Mhm,
Um, One, for people, there's a lot of really, deep topics, a lot of dark topics, serious topics. But we do have a romance panel this year.
mm,
Last year, Jasmine Guillory came to present her own romance novel, and this year she had such a great time that she requested to come back and moderate this year's romance session. So she'll be on that one. And we also have I think there's 4 authors in that session, but one of them is Claire Kahn, who is also she's participating in a middle grade session for kids as well. So that should be a fun one. And then a new author who I'm
Well,
really excited about.
before you move
Oh
on,
yeah,
so
yeah.
when is the romance panel,
Yeah,
and
so
when is the
that
one
one,
for the youth? Mhm.
yes. So that one is Romantic Roadblocks
Ah,
is Saturday, May 6th
okay.
at 2 p.m.
Hmm.
And then the other one is Cast a Spell.
Nice, nice title.
Yeah. And that one is again Saturday, May 6th at 12:15 at the Berkeley Public Library. Where
Hmm.
we'll be having kids stuff happening because we're only doing the outdoor fair on Sunday. All of our kids programming on Saturday is taking place at the Berkeley Public Library with a new partnership with them, which is really exciting.
Yeah, very nice, very nice. Yeah, awesome.
Yeah. And then the one other author I wanted to make sure I mention is
Oh,
this new
craft chats.
author, Cecilia Rabess. I don't know if you've come across her yet, but her book, Everything's Fine, actually doesn't
Mm,
come out until over the summer. But she's local, so she agreed to come and participate in this session even before her book comes out. Um, so it's kind of a romantic comedy, but it's also more of a like a workplace satire. It's about a young African American woman who is one of, I think, only 2. It's actually she's the only Black woman on the floor of her department at Goldman Sachs, where she lands a job right after graduation, and so sort of dealing with the sort of race in the workplace kinds of dynamics. Also dealing with a very fraught romantic situation. And the novel is just really, really funny, and which is why we put her on this, well, in sort of a biting way, which is why we put her on this session called Craft Chats, Writing Literary Humor, which is a new format we're doing this year where each of the authors is choosing a short passage from their work, and they're really going to dig into like, okay, how did I dial up the humor here? How did I like what choices were made to really connect with readers in a very intentional way around trying to get them to laugh or to chuckle or to wince a little bit, maybe if it's sort of a biting humor. So that will be a great session. We're doing another one about in the same format, but about writing from a child's point of view at a different point during the weekend. But this one about humor is on Sunday at 11:30 a.m.
excellent, excellent.
Yeah. I didn't know, like, do you want me to talk about kids stuff? I didn't know what else would you
Oh
think would
yeah,
be of
oh
interest.
yeah, definitely. I know you have some whole thing around disabilities rights,
Oh yeah, yeah.
and then but yeah, I definitely want family, because I know it's really lovely. I remember the first book festival. I mean, you can really bring your children, the whole family. There's something for everyone. And back then, you used to give away books to children. I don't know if you're still doing that. And then you have this whole thing on young people. So yeah, yeah, definitely. And then you have some special programming like um, I'm trying to think, is it Hochschild? He has a new book
Yep.
about World War, is it
World War
one?
One. Yep. Yep.
Yeah, yeah. And then yeah, just Just a few things.
Sure. I mean,
We
there's
like,
a lot
yeah,
there.
I know, I know. I was reading like how many, I think you have 250 authors and 100 plus programs, almost all free.
Yep. Yeah, I mean that's as I've been saying to a lot of people, that really is the book festival attendees dilemma, is that there almost always is more than one thing you want to attend at any given time. So figuring out how to make how to sort of trace your path through the weekend is it's
Mhm.
kind of a fun project. And then I should mention too that we're not doing as much videotaping this year, but we do audio record everything, and then we release it as podcasts after the fact. So
Really?
if there are things people can't attend live, you can, if you're washing dishes or taking your dog for a walk or whatever, you can listen to the podcast episode that we'll be releasing starting over the summer. So that's something to keep in mind as well.
Oh, is this something that you already have the podcast? Or is
Yeah,
this new?
we have a lot of them available on our website, and then of course we have a lot of video content
Mhm.
archived on our YouTube channel as well.
Oh, can you share that with us? Like where on the website people can
Uh,
find it and then,
that is a good question. I don't know exactly where it is. I hesitate to sort of tool around on here too much.
oh,
Oh yeah,
okay,
here it is, right under media.
okay,
So there it is.
okay.
So that this includes I guess we stopped producing last year's festival sessions in November, which makes sense. That's probably we were doing about one a week from
Mhm.
right after the festival through the fall, and so that's where people will find them, and you can subscribe to it in your podcast feed of choice.
Okay, cool.
One session that we will be live streaming and have video archived is the session with Alice Wong, which is Sunday, May 7th at 4 p.m. Um, both Alice and her interviewer will actually be joining us remotely. And so the audience will be all together in the Brower Center, but Alice and Yomi Sachiko Rong will be having their conversation on screen. And but Alice is just such a important disability activist and thinker about all of the issues around disability rights. And she's somebody who hasn't done a lot of events around her memoir, Year of the Tiger, which came out, I believe, earlier this year. So we're really excited to hear from her in conversation with Yomi, who's another disability activist and a good friend of Alice's. So always nice to have that dynamic of two friends in conversation. Yeah. In terms of kids programs, I can show you here. This is, one thing that we did this year with our schedule is we actually have we have the youth programs sort of more incorporated with our overall schedule on our website. But if people want to filter so they're just looking at youth programs, you can just click on a button and then you can really see just the programs for kids and teens, or we have a few that we've labeled as all ages.
Mhm.
So yeah, it really is. I think we have like 30 some programs for kids, and it really does run the gamut from picture book readings all the way through programs for teenagers that might also appeal to some adult readers as well.
Mhm.
So yeah, and the Berkeley Public Library partnership this year has really been key. They're hosting, a good dozen programs all day on
Mhm.
Saturday, including uh, theater activity with the Bay Area Children's Theater. They have a storytime band that's made up of librarians who perform music and do
Nice.
stories and finger plays and things like that. So that'll be really fun as well.
Mhm. Yeah. And for a parent that has children from like 1, almost 2 to 7, what would you recommend and what day? Saturday and where? What?
Yeah, so I would recommend Saturday is a great day to bring the little ones because we have a full selection of story times in the Berkeley Public Library Children's Room, starting with a singer-songwriter Amory has her picture book debut in the morning. One that I wanted to point out is this cooking the books session that's happening in the afternoon. That's going to involve it's 5 different picture book authors, each of whom has a different approach to writing about food in their picture books, and there's going to be food sampling as well. So
nice.
yeah, so that'll be a lot of fun for
Mhm.
sure. And then later in the afternoon on Saturday, we have musical story time at 3:30, and then immediately followed by the Bay Area Children's Theater Program at 4:15. So there really is a great variety, and it's like it's hard when you have kids that little to have a lengthy attention span for sure.
Yes.
But the great thing about the library is it's a super kid-friendly space. So if kids need a break, they can go play elsewhere. And it's a nice variety because there's music, there's theater, there's listening to stories. We're engaging, and there's food, of course. We're
Right.
engaging the library staff as well to help supplement some of the story times too.
Yeah. As you scroll down, I noticed that picturing lives. What was that?
Yeah, that's one that is really, we are talking about. This one is an all ages session. So
Mhm.
these are authors of recent picture book biographies, which is one of the hottest genres in children's publishing right now. People who are really using the picture book art form to tell stories of people's lives that maybe haven't been highlighted elsewhere. It's time to sort of look outside the standard biographies of people like George Washington and Amelia Earhart or whoever to look at other stories that haven't been told. And the picture book format is just so vibrant for that, to bring kids into the stories of other people's lives. And so,
Mhm.
so yeah, we have 4 different authors, all of whom have written picture book biographies. They'll be doing short readings from their work, talking about how they did their research. And so this is one that's really appropriate for kids, but also for parents, teachers, librarians, anybody who wants to have an interesting conversation about choosing selecting books to share with young people.
Mhm. Yeah. Yeah. Looks great.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then you
Ah,
had mentioned early on the scavenger hunt. We're
yes.
partnering with Candlewick Press on both Saturday and Sunday to hide Waldo, the famous Waldo from Where's Waldo.
Yes.
He'll be hiding in the Berkeley Public Library on Saturday, and then out in our outdoor fair on Sunday for people to find. And if they find him, they can enter a contest to win a prize.
So Waldo is he's going to move around.
So we had it's 3 Waldo cutouts. So we're
Oh,
gonna hide
okay.
them in 3 different places
Got it.
on Saturday and then on Sunday. So
Oh, that's great. That's great.
yeah.
So in the past, have all of Waldo's hiding places been discovered?
Well, this is the first time we've done it here. So I was at the Boston Book Festival previously, and we did these Waldo hunts regularly. And yeah, they do get found. It's kind of a fun project for the festival staff or the library staff to find clever places
Mm,
to hide
mhm.
him before all the festival goers show up.
Nice, nice.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. So, I was wondering, as we conclude, if you could tell us a little bit about um, who puts on the festival and some ways that people can participate in some of the groups that like the women's literary something or another, throughout the year. We're reading books all year long, and you know, the May event just sort of kicks it in high gear. It's like, oh my God, I didn't know all these books had just come out. Wow. Yeah.
Yeah, it really, it's like a big book party, it's like all of your favorite authors from the past year sort of showing up in the same place at the same time, which is just really exciting. But yeah, we have a
Mhm.
small team that puts this together. You had mentioned earlier that we have a session celebrating the 25th anniversary of the Berkeley Poetry Slam, and a lot more sort of spoken word slam poetry this year. That's in large part because we have a new program manager who's been working with me on pulling
Mm.
together the festival this year, and he has a background in slam poetry and in deep connections in that in that world, and so is bringing those folks to the festival, which is really exciting for all of us. And hopefully for them as well to get in front of a different audience. So that's a new facet of the festival this year that I'm really excited about. So yeah, we have a team of 4 or 5 folks who work with us all year round, and then people who get added seasonally to help us pull off such a big event. In terms of year-round programming, much of it most recently, as you mentioned, has been in conjunction with our Women Lit membership program. And so that is a community of women who love reading and talking about books and engaging with women and non-binary authors at special events. Some of those events are open to the public as well, but we try to give our Women Lit members special perks, whether that's free tickets or a private meet and greet with the author. And then one of the nicest features of being a Women Lit member is that we host a private salon at the festival, just for them and for the women authors who are attending the festival as speakers. This is just a nice chance to be in community together and have no pressure, just talk and get to know one another, and take a little break from the busyness of everything else happening during festival weekend.
Yeah, and I can't let you go without your highlighting the I think it's Joan Baez's event. Like, what's gonna happen? It sounds big.
It is. Unfortunately, it's sold out already, so I don't want to overhype it. But yeah, it's
Oh, that was one of the 2 paid ones.
Yes, yeah, yes. So that's the Saturday evening keynote, and it did sell out pretty quickly. But yeah, I'm excited for it. She's since retiring from music, she's been focusing her attention full time on art. So this is an art book, but I'm sure she'll be talking about her history of music and activism as well. So it should be a really great event. So if your viewers are fortunate enough to have snagged a ticket, well done.
Yeah, and is that one that's also going to be on the podcast eventually?
Yes, in fact, that we're going to be videotaping that one. So
Okay.
yeah, that is one that we will have both on the podcast and then as a video archive as well.
Okay, awesome. And you are here, you're a transplant from Boston, and you just hook into this great festival. Are you a writer?
Not really. I mean, I'm a book reviewer, so which helps inform my day job a lot, and vice versa. But yeah, I don't have any aspirations beyond that.
Oh, that's important. That's important. Books need readers
Yeah.
and reviewers.
Yeah.
Cool. Well, thank you so much for joining us, Norah, to give us this wonderful overview of the festival. Which one is it for the Bay Area Book Festival? Which
Yeah, this is the 9th annual, so we're already talking about gearing up for our big 10th anniversary spectacular next year. So
wow,
yeah.
Congratulations.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, congratulations. Great festival. Really wonderful opportunity to see who's writing, the people that live here, because we have a lot of phenomenal writers here, and then have people come visit us because everyone loves the Bay Area. We have great weather, we have great food, we have great everything. So yeah, people would love to oh yeah, totally, I'm available.
Absolutely.
Right. Well, you take good care. Congratulations.
All
See
right.
you at the festival.
Yeah, thanks for having me on.
Oh, you're quite welcome. Bye-bye. Oh, that was so lovely. So again, the Bay Area Book Festival is next weekend, Saturday and Sunday. And in the meantime, you can go to some of these other events. And I wanted to share with you information about something that's coming up tonight. It's going to be an event that I should have already had together to share with you. But it is, let me see if I can find it quickly. I'm going to be able to do that. It's Black Gold, and it is an event that is free, and it's looking at the migration stories. And I know you probably remember my conversation with Sister Lola Hanif, and so she is. I actually did oral history project on her, and I'm looking. Darn, I don't. I don't see the link, but let me show you the website for Black Gold, and let me share my screen really quickly. So this is the Black Gold website, and let's see who we are. Let's see, these are the 2021 stories, and there is an event. I'm actually a part of the 2022 stories, and there is an event tonight that I am. Oh gosh, I'm looking. See, I don't see the information, but I really do want to give it to you because I want you to be able to come. So let me see how I'm going to do this. Let's see. Okay, we're going to try it this way. Yeah, I think I can find it like this. Oh, here we are. Okay. It's a free event, and so I wanted to let you know how to find it. So let me share my screen again. And it's on my Wanda's Facebook.com Wanda's Picks, so you can locate it. But here it is. It's today, Stories in Verse, a Black Gold storytelling event, and it's on. It's free, and you can find it in Eventbrite. And you can get tickets, and then if you go, or even if you don't go, the recording of the presentation will be available, and it will also be on the website. So the storytellers include, besides me, RGT Williams and Kevin Dublin are going to be telling stories about a wonderful person who lives here in the Bay Area now, who migrated here. And again, the person that I am featuring is Sister Lola Hanif, who we were really happy to have her on Wanda's Picks to talk about her wonderful book, what Mama says, what Mama used to say. Yeah, old sayings that were really, really phenomenal. So thank you so much for joining us for Wanda's Picks program. It was really lovely, and hopefully see some of you all this evening and see others of you at the Bay Area Book Festival next week.